That's how you really feel?
I'm gonna be real. Tonight is another night where we're gonna make our NFL predictions on Picked Off. I'm here with my boy Jay, also known as Denzel, and JJ down at the bottom. What's up, fellas? How we doing?
Good. Yeah, about to get another round of these picks going, man. See what the deal is.
We're gonna see what the deal is really tonight, man. Picked Off is basically
very exciting. A little tired, definitely tired because we get up at 5:30 to 5:15 every morning. But I'm here.
He's here, bro. But as you know, the Picked Off show is like an extension of the Gauntlet, which you guys can watch on Fridays, where we talk more extensively on things in the NFL. But tonight, we're just going to make our picks, man. Without further ado, we're going to start with the Thursday night matchup, which is in the AFC East, two teams sitting at 1-1. The Jets, they moved back half a point from 6.5 earlier today. The line was set at 6. So the Jets taking on the Patriots, which the Jets have historically been struggling against them. Whether it's been with Tom Brady or not, you never know what you're going to get in this game. So, Denzel, who wins this game and why?
I've got the Jets winning this one. Aaron Rodgers looks like he's slowly getting it back. Now, I'm not completely ruling out the Patriots because their defense has been playing pretty good, probably a little better than expected. They did lose a close one to a good Seattle team last week. The Pats are going to be looking to bounce back, but I really think that if they can get Breece Hall going and Aaron Rodgers can get his passes out there to Garrett Wilson and everything, and the defense really steps up, I've got the Jets in a close one. I'm going to say Jets 24-21.
Good stuff. And JJ, tell me who wins this game and why you think that.
I actually going to go with the Jets because I think part of what happened against the San Francisco 49ers was just pretty much the offensive line of San Francisco. But I think this game, I think the Patriots they fight, because again, when you have a player that becomes a head coach, one of the first things he instills is toughness. But I think that Aaron and them are going to start figuring it out. Their defense is pretty good. I actually I wouldn't really touch that spread. I would probably do an alternate spread and do of like 5.5. I mean, not 5.5, 5.5 or 4.5. But I like it. But I will say I like Breece Hall this game for his rushing and receiving yards.
Fair enough, man. I really think this could be a dangerous trap game for the Jets. It's a division. It's unpredictable. Patriots have had a lot of success. I'm still going to pick the Jets, but I won't be surprised if this is like a nasty, ugly game, and then the Jets just end up pulling it out. I'm going to say 20-17 Jets. Aaron Rodgers looking more comfortable. Breece Hall scored that long touchdown pass on the last week against the Titans. Those guys getting the chemistry together. But Garrett Wilson, he was a guy they would start going to on the first few drives, and then they just stopped going to him. I think you got to find a way to get the ball to him and to Breece Hall as much as possible. And then the Jets will have a good result that way. So next game, the Los Angeles Chargers taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers on the road. Justin Fields, 2-0 as the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. JJ, this is a team you're pretty familiar with the Ravens playing the Steelers twice a year. What do you think about where the Steelers are at, and do you see them winning this game?
I can definitely see them winning this game, even though I don't think they will, because I do respect their defense. I think that ultimately is going to be what's probably going to be the driving force of this team. If you watch them play, their defense has been the factor that set the tone. But they're going against a team that, again, they're very similar. They have Greg Roman and J.K. Dobbins, and everybody's looking really good in that run game. So it's familiarity amongst these teams. Roman knows Tomlin from seeing him with us. Tomlin knows him. I do think this defense is going to give Justin Fields a little bit of fits. Justin Fields hasn't really had to do anything. He hasn't really had to do too much. He's relied on field position and having Najee Harris and stuff. But I think So this game, I think the Chargers' offense is going to push them to the point where they're going to have to require Justin Fields. I don't think they're going to win because I actually think the Chargers are a better team. But I could see Pittsburgh winning, but it would require them to have Justin Fields kind of get off. I'm taking T.J. Watt sacks in this game. I'll be honest with you, because that's T.J. Watt. It's almost automatic.
Yep, T.J. Watt is definitely one of the greats. But Denzel, what do you think here in this matchup, and who do you think is going to win?
I like the Bolts in this one. I think J.K. Dobbins has been running the lights out the last two games. Now, I know that thus far, this will be the toughest defense that they have faced. However, one could have faith that the running game could break through. This is also a system, and this is what's really good about Coach Harbaugh getting there, is he's implementing a system where Justin Herbert, if he doesn't have to do entirely too much. Everywhere he's been a fan of running the football and throwing and making plays when need be, not asking too much out of the quarterback. That goes for pro or college. I like the Chargers in this one. I'm going to keep it close. I'm going to say 26-20 Chargers. Steelers keep it interesting, but the Chargers eventually hold on for the win.
I think I'm going to be the only person that goes in another direction with this, but I got the Steelers winning this game. If you watch the Steelers play, the way they win football games is by being physical, by being tough, and they have a style of winning that not everybody likes to see. It's ugly, it's physical, it's nasty. That's the way Pittsburgh Steelers play football. So I think for the Chargers, the only way that I can see them winning this game is if they come out and get out to an early lead. You don't want to go have drives down the field and you get to the red zone and kick field goals, because if you keep this game like a 13-10 game late, then I like Pittsburgh in that all day, because that's just how they play football and that's how they win games. So that's why I'm going to be the outlier here and pick Pittsburgh Steelers to win this game. So next up on the schedule, we got my team, the Philadelphia Eagles, coming off of a loss on Monday Night Football to the Atlanta Falcons.
Hey, real quick.
Yeah.
Did you skip a game?
No, it's the next game. It's the next game on the schedule.
Texans Vikings isn't on there?
Oh, I see it on there.
Okay. We'll do that one next.
To be honest with you, brother, I can do that one next. We already on the Eagles.
Yeah. It's cool. It's all good.
The Saints have, and by the way, I think those games are both at 1 o'clock. Yep. So the Eagles coming off that loss against the Falcons wasn't a well-played game. A.J. Brown was out. They couldn't really get any consistency rolling. They ran the ball effectively. They went away from Barkley. They tried to win the game. He drops the pass when he's wide open. And it was just kind of a disaster after that. Meanwhile, you have the Saints that have been on a roll. They're scored 91 points in 2 games, and they look fantastic. They destroyed the Cowboys in their house, which Cowboys generally play really well at home, but not on this particular day. So, this is a dangerous game with the Eagles having injuries. I want to pick my team, but it's kind of difficult after that defensive performance. If the same defense shows up, I think the Saints will score a lot of points, because Derek Carr is going to be back there all day. I'm going to pick the Eagles. I think they're going to get it together, but the game plan has to be consistent. Saquon Barkley, I think, is the key to the game. Got to give him a lot of touches, get him going, and it should open up the offense, which is not the same offense without A.J. Brown. He is one of the best receivers in the game, of course. So, but I'm still going to pick the Eagles to win this game. JJ, what do you think about this matchup? Who wins?
I must say, I think, it's interesting that this game is happening, because you had referenced it earlier that, this is a team that you love in your Eagles, but also a team that you're also very high on, which is the Saints. And I have to say, they are kind of like impressing me a little bit, because it's the offense and more of how it's flowing. Alvin Kamara really kind of burst out, letting people know, like, I'm still here. I do need to know if A.J. Brown is playing, because I do agree I see a different Jalen when A.J.'s not in the game. And I think he is such a big, important factor to that offense and opening up that pass game, that I think the Saints are going to push it. I think the Saints are going to push it. It's interesting that you see the Saints as the favored team in this.
The Saints are favored 2.5 in this game.
I actually would take that because I think they would win. I think they're going to win by a field goal. I actually think they're going to win this game because I think they're going to continue to show people. I think people are seeing them, but they're not really like, they're like, okay, 2-0, all right. And I think early in the season, when you are a team that is better roster-wise and probably is projected to be better, you'll look at that and be like, man, they're 2-2, no, but we'll see. And that might be the recipe to actually be, have a loss. And so I just think I got the Saints winning this one by a field goal.
All right. What about you, Denzel?
Man, outside of Saquon Barkley having an electric game, the Saints just look that much dangerous. And you even alluded to it, James, when you said that the Saints are probably a better team than people would lead to believe. They went in there. Now, there was the Panthers game. That's one thing. Okay, shout out to Wyatt in the comment. He's right. It wasn't just a fluke, But they went in there. They beat on paper a very tough Dallas defense. David Carr hung 40 plus on them. Second straight game. Alvin Kamara had a career game. 4 touchdowns. And not only that, but I think the Saints are out to prove that they can win the NFC South. Who knows what's going to happen with the Falcons this year? We know what the Panthers are. And then there's that Mayfield kid in Florida. So I'm going to take Saints in this one. I got them to cover. But if it came down to Jalen Hurts in a game-winning drive, that wouldn't shock me neither.
Yep. You know what? It's going to be an interesting game, good game. Looking forward to seeing it. Another game I'm looking forward to seeing, talk about New Orleans being a surprise with Minnesota. How about the 2-0 start for them? How about the start of the season? I hope Sam Darnold looking fantastic. And CJ Stroud also 2-0 after the win over Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears on Sunday night. So Jay, a.k.a. Denzel, what's going on with this matchup? What do you see in this game? And how do you feel about the start of the season for your team?
Well, first off, there's only been 2 teams in franchise history the Texans have yet to defeat. Your Eagles and the Vikings. So with this one, the Minnesota, and it's a little tough because, we play each other every 4 years. But with that being said, Danielle Hunter comes home to his old stadium. Of course, CJ Stroud clearly is the better quarterback, but also the Vikings, and I mean all Giants game aside, okay? But then the Vikings go and they do that to the defending NFC champions. But then, of course, much to you guys' observations as well, you all believe that this ain't the same 49ers. If McCaffrey was playing in at full strength, then again, he played in the game last year and they still lost. Maybe the Vikings just have their number. I like Texans in this.
I don't really think it's that they're not the same 49ers. I just think that the 49ers are not as good as we expected.
That's fair.
I still think they're a better team than Minnesota, but they weren't on that day. So they win for Minnesota.
Yeah, it really was, But I'm going to take the Texans in this one. I do expect it to be close. I'll say 27-21 Texans. The defense has been, they've been playing angry for Houston. A late defensive stop, I can see that happening, and Texans close it out.
Okay, I'm going to go next here. Very surprised to the start of the season for Minnesota. But I think that this is a good time for Stephon Diggs. This is a guy I've been critical of, but this is a former team that he was drafted by Minnesota. So
he was.
It's always special when you have an opportunity to go play a team that you're familiar with, which he is. So I think he'll be a big factor in the game and a big reason why the Texans win this one. JJ, I'm going to close this out for this pick, for this game. Texans,
sorry, you guys. You know I'll be looking at this little, my little fun time. Anyway, Texans and Vikings. It might be something to why Sam Darnold's odds for comeback player of the year was lower or more favorable than people expected. He's looking pretty good with this Minnesota team, but I do think they're figuring it out. I think Houston is actually showing people that they know the expectations and they're coming out to perform on that expectation. And I'll be honest with you, man, you might have to watch out for Nico Collins because that CJ Stroud Nico Collins connection is pretty dang lethal to start this season. And and I think they have.
I said yes, it is.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. I think so. And then Tank Dell, he's going to get back to form. But I think that I respect when Minnesota's done to start the season. But I think I got Houston in this one, and I actually will take that spread because I think Houston's going to have a pretty strong game. Like I think they're going to have a strong game. That's why I'm taking C.J. Stroud for 3 passing touchdowns, and Nico Collins for like 100 yards receiving.
You know what? The only last thing I'll say about this game is Justin Jefferson is unbelievable, and he's gonna be the best player on the field. But collectively, as a unit, I just think Houston has way more weapons that can hurt you as a collective unit, where Jefferson can do everything pretty much on his own. So the Green Bay Packers are actually the Denver Broncos versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa. Baker Mayfield looking pretty good with a 2-0 start. Had another good performance against Detroit. Tough road win, rematch the playoff game from last year. Listen, man, this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team is pretty good, and they're looking like one of the better teams in the NFC. It's early to start the season, but they're off to a good start. Baker's off to a good start. And Bo Nix kind of struggling a little bit. Won the job in preseason, but he hasn't really shown too many good things in the last couple of games. So he's got to start to figure it out. It's a tough place to play on the road. So I'm going to take the Tampa Bay, and I think that Baker Mayfield, whatever he's on right now, I think it's going to keep rolling. Another good performance from Baker and the Bucs at home. JJ, who do you got winning this game? Broncos, Bucs.
I got the Bucs. I think I like what they're doing. I actually like what Baker's doing out there. I think they're the better team. I think the Broncos are figuring it out, but they're not. They're just not. It's going to be like that sometimes with the rookie quarterback. They're much like, I feel like they're in the same situation as the Commanders. So I can see why that spread is 6.5, but I actually am going to take them. I'm going to take the Bucs. I'm going to take the Bucs money line on this one. I don't want to touch no spreads for real talk. I think they're going to win this game.
And Denzel, Broncos, Bucs. What you looking for in this game, man, and what you think who's going to win?
We might see another 4-touchdown performance from Baker Mayfield. Because just like that team in New Orleans is out to prove that they can win NFC South, the Bucs are out to prove that they can repeat. Mayfield just got his bag, and he's looking to live up to it. Now, I'm taking a look at the future schedules here, and by the time October the 13th comes around, we may be looking at a potential game of the week in either 2 unbeaten or at least one-loss team in Buccaneers versus Saints. But as far as this game goes, I'm not going to say Bo Nix looks the worst rookie out there. He did lose a close. He lost close actually back-to-back weeks. He'll break through eventually, but it won't be this week. I've got Buccaneers 24-10.
Interesting. So we got all three of us picking the Buccaneers for this game. Wish Tyler Ingram was with us, but he is not tonight. Green Bay Packers taking on the Tennessee Titans. Who are the Titans favored actually in this game?
Yes, they are. The Tennessee Titans are favored.
All right.
You're not seeing things.
This probably means that they don't really trust Malik Willis to perform. But I think the opposite's going to happen. I think Green Bay is actually going to win. I like what I saw from Green Bay. Offense definitely needs work with Malik. Definitely not the same offense that we saw week 1 against the Philadelphia Eagles in Brazil. But this is a big game for Malik Willis because of the obvious. He was traded by this team. He was drafted by this team. And they went out and took Will Levis. I think the guy has a chip on his shoulder, man. I think if there's one time for him to go ball out, this is a game for it. You got weapons. You know how good Jaden Reed is. They got Josh Jacobs in the backfield. Packers got some offensive weapons that can, make the plays. So just spread the ball around. Get the ball to these guys. They'll make the plays. Don't make the dumb mistake. And I think Will Levis is a guy that has made those dumb mistakes a lot this season. So I'm actually going to roll with the Packers in this game. So, Denzel, who do you got?
Packers. And actually, the line went down since earlier today. The line is now Titans by 1.5. With that being said, Tennessee by 1.5. With that being said, I expect a repeat from last week, and the Packers winning it. Josh Jacobs runs wild. Will Levis, he's just kind of full of mistakes right now, and I can see the Packers defense capitalizing on them. There may be some questions coming up about Will Levis. Is he really ready to start or lead this team or anything like that? They let a game against the Bears slip away from them. But the Packers are they also are proving that they can hold it down while Jordan Love is out, which would be huge because they don't want to be down or 2 down in the division by the time Jordan Love comes back. Beating the Colts absolutely helps. It does. Sorry, Wyatt. But beating the Colts absolutely helps their cause. But I'm going to take the Pack in this one. I'll say Packers 21-17.
JJ, who you got?
This is such an ugly game. It's an ugly game in the sense of that these quarterbacks have a lot of growth about them, and I think it depends on whose offensive line is going to show out the most, because I do think that these quarterbacks, they're going to make some mistakes. I think they're going to have some runs and some nice passes, but I think they're going to have some mistakes. I'm only leaning to the Packers because I think their defense is better, and they have a better group of offensive weapons than the Titans. But I don't think this is going to be a really good game. I can see the running backs and getting the bulk of the carry, and maybe with the Green Bay Packers having Malik Harris. I think yeah. But I have the Packers winning this.
Giants taking on the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns getting back in the win column last week, while the Giants lost a nail-biting game to Washington. So New York Giants haven't looked very good. Cleveland has looked great. But Cleveland Browns, they're at home. They're a considerably better team. Unless Deshaun Watson has a brutal performance, I don't see it happening for the Giants to win this game on the road. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Browns. JJ, Browns or Giants?
Browns. The Giants, they're in dismay. They don't really have, they beat they had a guy game with the Commanders where they, Neighbors is going to be nice, looking good, but I think that offensive line is about to get hammered by Cleveland's run. Jim Schwartz, what he's about. He's about pressure. He's about getting up in your face, and you will have Daniel Jones coming into town. It's going to be physicality that's going to be winning this game for the Cleveland Browns. I got them, and I'll take that spread. I look for Myles Garrett to have about 2.5 sacks and a fumble force, or a fumble force and a recover for a touchdown. One of those, I think a defensive score is going to happen.
Wouldn't be surprised at all. Denzel, who you got?
Browns. Deshaun Watson looked like a shell of himself in week 1. Week 2, not going to say he was completely back, but much better than last week. But also, there was a team, I think I read this somewhere. There was a team that became the first team in NFL history to score 3 touchdowns in a game and not allow a touchdown and still lose the game. Who was that? The Giants. So they going to lose this game just because they the Giants. All right. I'm going to take and not only that, but the defense of the Browns hadn't gone anywhere. I'm going to take the Cleveland Browns 24 to, you know what? Maybe 24-7. The Giants might score a late touchdown. The Browns might give up a mercy touchdown and say, okay, thanks for playing. But Browns winning this one.
Absolutely. So we're all taking the Cleveland Browns here. No surprise there. Sorry, JB Ellis, but the Giants, they just stink. So we got to move on.
JB Ellis took the Browns. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, honestly, he probably has money on the Browns.
Yeah.
He probably has a parlay with the Browns on it. So not too happy after losing his parlay on the Champions League. But the Chicago Bears and the Indianapolis Colts taking on each other. I think this game's in Indianapolis. That is Wyatt's team, and Wyatt's been in the comments tonight, leaving a lot of feedback for us. Appreciate it, Wyatt, but your team is playing the Bears. You know, one thing I'll say about this game is this is two young quarterbacks. With Anthony Richardson was just drafted last year, spent most of the season hurt, and I think Gardner Minshew was filling in at quarterback. And then the Chicago Bears' #1 pick, Caleb Williams. Listen, man, you saw it in that Texans game again, where he's just throwing the ball out there, and sometimes you wonder where he's throwing the ball. Same can be said for Anthony Richardson. A few turnovers in that game against Green Bay. So, I think this is going to be another ugly game. But I think the Bears finally put something together and they'll win this game. I think that DeAndre Swift should have a big day. He's electric when you get him the ball. You saw him make a few plays against the Texans. So I think that's really the key to what we want to see the Bears do. Have a balanced offense. Don't make put Caleb in a position where he has to play hero ball, because when he does that, bad things happen. Denzel, who wins this game? Bears, Colts.
As far as last week, one thing that I noticed about Caleb Williams is at one point in the game when there was no blitz, standard 3-4 man rush, he was 11 of 12 for 80 yards. When the heat was on him, 2 of 9 for 14 yards. He gets happy feet. He's a deer in headlight. He panics fast. So if the Colts are going to have a chance to win this game, they better blitz him. They better blitz him real good. But Wyatt mentioned it, 320 combined rushing yards given up in 2 games. So Khalil Herbert and DeAndre Swift are going to have a field day if the Bears are going to win this game. I'm going to take the Bears in a close one. I think, and this is like a process where, you know, Caleb Williams is kind of learning one mistake at a time, you know. But I think they do just enough. I'm going to take the Bears in this one. This was going to be semi-ugly. I'll say 20, well, not too ugly, 20-17 Bears.
And JJ, it's up to you now. Bears, Colts. Who you got?
Another game of quarterbacks that have been struggling to start the season in different places. So Anthony, I think, is, you know, for all intents and purposes, kind of in the same spot as Caleb Williams, because he had a season he started, but then he'd been missed for the last, I think, like 10 or 11, 12 games. But here comes Caleb. I think both teams, I see a couple turnovers. I do. It's rookie and first year quarterbacks, you know, second year quarterbacks. And so it's like, I'm going to go with, jeez. Oh, gosh. This is.
And it's a 1-point line. Look at that. It's a 1-point line.
Oh, gosh.
They don't really know.
You think it's Chicago. But I'm going to go to Indianapolis with this one. And I think they're going to win by like 3 points. I'll take that spread. That's just an ugly.
Oh, wow. 473. Absolutely. Who'd you have, JJ?
Colts.
Colts? All right.
All right, so we're both picking the Bears, and he is picking the Colts to win this game. Next game, got a really exciting matchup for you guys. The Carolina Panthers taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. Bryce Young was just benched. I'm going to wait until Friday on the show to give like my real thoughts and opinions on everything that's going on with the Panthers team. But that was their decision that they made. Meanwhile, the Raiders had an upset win on the road against the Ravens. AJ started to remind you about that. But the Raiders team, they made the plays they needed to make and get a tough win on the road. So I don't think there's any surprise here. I'm going to stick with the Raiders. The Panthers are just a team that's going nowhere, and then everything just kind of seems to be getting worse. And I just think benching of Bryce Young was kind of a panic move by them. I know the guy hasn't looked good to start the season, but if you think this is going to fix all their problems, you got another thing coming. Raiders win at home. JJ, you want to pick it up from here? Who you got?
I'm going with the Raiders. I'm going with the Raiders because at the end of the day, I think Andy Dalton's going to get some traction. It's going to be, better and competitive. But I think that the Raiders, they're going to try to build on this big win that they had against my Ravens, because that was a big win. Granted, the team may not be looking as way it looks to, but you beat a quality opponent. I think they're going to build on that with Carolina. I don't think it's going to be immediate for Carolina, but they should start to play better. But I think they'll lose this game.
Fair enough. And what about Denzel?
Raiders. Panthers will surprisingly keep it close because Dalton's in there. Not very much to say. I know the Raiders team, they're playing really hard for Antonio Pierce. Very few people outside of the state of Maryland saw a Raiders victory over the Ravens. But I've got the Raiders in this one. I'm going to take the Raiders 21-10. Actually, no. I'm sorry. I said a close one. I'm going to say Raiders 21-20.
21-20 Raiders. Pretty close. So covering that 5.5 line. Next game, we got the Dolphins taking on the Seattle Seahawks. Their first game since Tua Tagovailoa's injury against Buffalo Bills on Thursday Night Football.
Hop on, Tyler.
Skylar Thompson will be starting this game for the first time this season. He came in after Tua got hurt, obviously, but his first career start, I believe, on the road against Seattle. I'm going to pick the Seahawks to win this game. It's a tough environment. It's a loud stadium. It's a hard place to play. It's a West Coast trip, flying all the way from Miami to the other side of the country. So that fatigue, I think, can also play a factor in this game. So I'll take Seattle. Denzel, who you got?
Seahawks. They're 2-0 right now. Geno Smith's playing above average. I know Charbonnet actually did some numbers for you last week there, JT. K9 was out, so I know that really helped you a lot. Hopefully he's back this week, because if he is, I'm starting him. The Dolphins, I just don't see Skylar Thompson going in there and beating that crowd or that team. I've got the Seahawks 27-17.
The Dolphins trying to win Seattle for the first time since Seattle was last in the AFC 2001. Interesting. JJ, who you got winning this one?
You had the
Dolphins Seahawks.
I was going to say, what happened?
Dolphins Seahawks.
Yeah, I'll give it to the Seahawks here. I think you guys pretty much already stated out here. Tua's not playing. Skylar's playing. Seahawks at home. It's a hard place to play. You up there, and it's getting cold out here. And we know how the Dolphins don't really like the cold, but we'll see. But I got the Seahawks getting this game. Without a doubt.
Next game, guys, we got a big one. Baltimore Ravens, surprisingly off to the season 0-2. Luck has not been on their side the first couple weeks of the season. Going on the road play the Cowboys, coming off that game where they absolutely destroyed by the Saints at home. And Tyler joins us. Tyler's in the house. What's up, Tyler? So we got a tough game right here, man. So JJ, this is your team. How does the Ravens get on the track to win against the Cowboys?
I just think we can play our game. I think we are a team that actually is better than what we've shown. I think my team is just sitting there. The offensive line is the problem. If you watch the game, the right side of the offensive line is just the problem. But they still are competitive. They're still in games, and it happens a lot of times. But this team does bounce back. I think Dallas, is a good opponent to make you not just sit there and think you have to coast. Like, you really got to be on your game, because who knows what's going to happen to my fan base or so when we go to 0-3. Personally, I would see it as a harder task, but I've seen my team win, consecutive games, like in double digits, so to speak. But it's just not something that they want to have. It's something that they want to avoid, because typically when you're 0-3, it's tough. It's tough. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be the best. It's probably going to still be a problem because defensive line is strong for Dallas. But what happened in the game against the Raiders is, I don't even talk about the field goal of the last drive. I talked about the drive when it was tied at 23-23 with 3 minutes and 57 seconds left. In that second half, in the third quarter to the fourth quarter, Derrick Henry had about 65, 70 yards. He was starting to get traction. He didn't touch the ball one time during that drive. Came with 3 and out. Here comes Vegas. Vegas goes down. That is what is the issue right there. If he would have been able to, if we get in this same situation with this game, you need to feed that guy, because at the very minimum, you could have taken down some clock. And I think they're going to do that, because at the end of the day, Derrick Henry is somebody that we want to count on to help us close out games, whether it be in goal line situations or in the fourth quarter when a defense has been worn down, to extend a drive or to get that game-winning drive where you could chew out some clock, because that really should have been the plan last week, but it needs to happen this week. I'm going to take them because I still think we are a better team. I know we are better than this. I know that a lot of people are going to have so much to say about it in terms of the fan, because my fan base is losing it. Like, they are just losing it. And I can understand, because high expectations, drop the bomb, but we're Ravens. We've seen this before. I've seen my team squeak into the playoffs at 9-7 and win a playoff game. I've seen my team and Harbaugh win off 14 games after going 2-3. It's just a different battle, and I think we'll get it done.
Respect that. Tyler, who do you think's going to win this one? Ravens, Cowboys?
I got some reservations about both in a way. I do think the Ravens' offensive line has not been impressive to start the season. I think that's where they're vulnerable. On the flip side, Dallas, their defense isn't what it's supposed to be. I mean, they've given up a lot of points to start this season. With this game, I think it comes down to coaching. And I'm going to take the better coach, and I'm going to take the Ravens because I think John Harbaugh gets it done. I also think the Ravens are still a playoff team. I think, you start with Kansas City, and last week was kind of, I was wrong about it. It was kind of a trap game or whatever you want to call it last week. Maybe didn't kind of sleptwalk into that, but I do think Baltimore's better. I think Baltimore wins this game. Not going to give you a score. I just think Baltimore wins this game.
Denzel, who you picking?
Man, it's it's that offensive line for the Ravens worries me. And I know you all have heard me say it time and again, it's just who this team is. I said last week that I could see the Cowboys winning this game, and I didn't know what was itching about it. But now I think I could probably finally say it. This is the type of team that, now keep in mind, next week the Cowboys got the Giants. You would think, okay, it's set up. They beat a contender, and then they somehow stumble to the Giants, right?
Maybe.
I think it
division game.
Yeah, division game. I think it'll be close. I'm going to take Cowboys 27-21. The defense comes up huge in the fourth quarter late to get a stop. Despite very lack of a running game, Dak Prescott, I'm not going to say necessarily has his way with. Actually, CeeDee Lamb may have a big game. This may be his game. But, yeah, I got Cowboys in this.
Cowboys?
I'm picking Dallas.
Okay. Man, this game could go either way. I think on paper, the Cowboys probably should win this game. I'm gonna pick the Ravens though, just because I think the Ravens is a little more desperate than the Cowboys. Because at least the Cowboys have that win against Cleveland. The Ravens haven't won any games here. They gotta get in a win column. They don't want to go 0-3 because psychologically, you start the season 0-3. That's tough. And the Ravens also have a tough stretch coming up after this game. They got a division game against Cincinnati. They got to go to Tampa Bay as well, and they also have one game against the Buffalo Bills. So that's 3 good teams that you got to play after playing this team, which was a playoff team last year. I think the Ravens got to go in there and figure out how they're going to win. Got to get the ball out quickly, I think. Slow down Micah Parsons, or just run the ball at him because that's his biggest weakness is he doesn't defend the run as well as he does like as a pass rusher. So that's something I think the Ravens could exploit. So I got the Ravens, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry. Let's get it done. So yeah, I'm with the Ravens flock this week. You know that. So you guys know that. Lions. Dom is not here, but his team will be playing next week against the Cardinals, who's on an absolute roll right now. Kyler Murray actually looking like a good quarterback. Never thought I'd be saying that on the show, but I am. And the Lions, I don't know. Like this Lions offense is not looking the same as last season. Really through first couple games of the season, and it's on the road, and it's at Arizona. It's flying across the country. Give me the Cardinals. JJ, who you got? Lions, Cardinals.
I wish Don was here because I would have loved.
I do too.
I would have loved to hear his opinion of, what's been going on with the Lions. Because again, the Lions have expectations. I was very surprised, impressed, and happy about how they did the week 1. But I did, was looking at this game against the Bucs, looking at like, okay, so what happened here? And here you got the Cardinals, who at the end of the day, the Cardinals might be figuring something out here. I don't know how much this is true about the whole Kyler and the Marvin Harrison Jr. dynamic thing or whatever, but the dude is obviously a baller, and I think I would hope that those comments aren't true, because at the end of the day, it is your job to get it to him because he's part of the offense. He's part of the guys that are supposed to help you win. So if you were to say something like that, it's like, no, it's not a battle of who's above or not. And I think if you can get that out your mind, they can beat the Lions on this one. It's hard because I really want to go with the Lions, but then I want to go with the Cardinals. And then when I want to go with the Cardinals, I just have to remember my expectations of the Lions. And I'm just like,
so who you got, brother?
I know, right? I'm going to take the Cardinals. I'm going to take the Cardinals to cover the spread, but I got the Lions winning. I think this is going to be a down to the end. You need a field goal to win, and I think the Lions are going to get it done. Believing in those guys.
It's going to be a pretty interesting game, but Tyler, you want to give your take on this game? Who wins?
Yeah, Cardinals have been really impressive to start the season. That offense is humming. I mean, even in week 1, when Marvin Harrison only had 1 reception, they still were holding their own with the Bills. They were still getting up and down the field.
It was a good game.
A little bit of bright spot for the Lions. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson has been a savage to start the season. He's been shot out of a cannon the way he's playing. I mean, 5 sacks, 4.5, whatever. Ridiculous week for him, even in a loss. I do think the Lions get on track here. I do think they win this game. I'm impressed with Arizona. I think Arizona has, is showing some strides for their season, and they look like a much improved team. But I do think the Lions get back on track here. I think it's a close one though, but I got the Lions winning this one.
Fair enough, Denzel.
This definitely.
Lions.
Cardinals are definitely not a team that the Lions should overlook. MHJ has arrived, if anyone has seen last week. And Kyler Murray has been well-adjusted since starting the season, since coming back last season. But this is a game that the Lions need because of the hype that's going on with them. And a lot of people circle their favor to win a division, but it will be close. This will be the second overtime game in as many games for the Lions, but I got the Lions 27-24 in overtime.
Awesome, man. So I think this game could also be really exciting as well. Not enough people are talking about this game, but got another game on the schedule that looks pretty interesting to me. The Rams absolutely destroyed by the Cardinals last week. Credit to the Cardinals, but the Rams, they were also looking pretty rough. 49ers coming off a loss, 7.5 point favorites on the road in SoFi against the Rams. Man, I really think that this game is dangerous for the 49ers. I know that the Rams are depleted, but this is a division game. And what we saw, how the 49ers were struggling against Minnesota, which I know Minnesota was 2-0 and has looked better than expected as well. Credit to them. But if the 49ers drop another one, I think there has to be more question marks about this team, and it's a division game, and you never know. So I'm actually gonna pick the Rams to pull an upset here, and then there's gonna be a lot of question marks for the 49ers. I gotta throw an upset out there just to be crazy. So fuck it, I'm gonna do it. All right. So Denzel, you want to pick it up from here?
Yes. I was going to go the opposite direction because the Rams are a wounded Ram right now for obvious reasons. And I think the 49ers are going to be absolutely pissed for losing to the Vikings, even though they're looking a little better than people had them at. But I've got the 49ers in this one. I'm going to take them 27-20. They'll keep it closest, but the Niners will get a defensive stop toward the end. I think people, because of the injuries of the Rams, they'll actually shock a lot of people by staying in the game. But I got the 49ers by a touchdown.
Tyler, we'll go to you next.
Yeah, wow. Kudos to James on being bold on this one. The Rams right now are like the Eugene of Hey Arnold. They are so beat up week after week. They're getting hurt left and right. Obviously missing a guy like Aaron Donald on this team so bad. You know, just they're such a generational talent. I know Debo's out. I know CMC's out. I don't think it matters. I think 49ers win this one.
JJ, you got it.
These division games are always tough. This one is kind of specific just because these teams, when you least expect them to win, they end up beating the other team. It's just like I'm going to go with San Francisco, though. I'm not going to take that spread, though, because I think it's going to be a much more contested game just for the simple fact that they do know each other so well, and that while LA is injured, San Francisco is injured as well in some key positions, because we all have acknowledged it is a different ballgame for Brock when CMC is not there. You know, CMC has been a guy that not only does he affect the run game, he affects the pass game. You see him lining up a wide receiver. I think they're going to win this game because I think that, you know, the injuries are going to be too much, specifically on the offensive line for LA. If they had their offensive line, that would have given me more confidence to say that they would win, because Matthew Stafford has shown he can make it work with whoever is around. It may not be easy, it may not be pretty, but he can get it done. Their offensive line is the problem. I'm going to take the 49ers to win this one, but they'll cover the spread.
All right, yep. I'm making my crazy pick for the week, and that's it. Atlanta Falcons. Probably would have been a crazy pick for people last week after they beat my team. But I got to say, you're playing the Chiefs, I think it's going to be different. I think the Falcons are not really a great football team. I'm not trying to be salty or anything, but I really feel like the Eagles just did not execute down the stretch of that game. So think it does say more about the Eagles than the Falcons. But against the Chiefs, it ain't going to happen. This team is too prepared. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, always cooking something up. So they'll cook something up again, and they'll get a win this week. Chiefs over the Falcons. Denzel, who you got?
I'm going to take the Chiefs. I know Kirk's primetime record isn't that great. He had a lot to prove last week in adding a win to that, but it stops there. The Chiefs, it doesn't really do the Falcons any good getting the Chiefs this early, because you would like to think that they would like to get to a great start in the division race and everything, but this loss won't be the total end of it. Falcons surprisingly keep it close, though. Had this been an Arrowhead, I would have had it a much wider gap. But I'm going to take Mahomes and company. I'll take them 28-20. Kirk keeps it close, though.
All right. Tyler, who you got winning this game? Falcons or the Chiefs?
I'll keep it simple. I got the Chiefs. I don't see Kirk Cousins winning 2 primetime games back-to-back weeks.
Straight to the point.
All right.
I love it.
Easy enough. Straight to the point. JJ, who you got?
This is an interesting game to me, just because Atlanta's defense we have respected after last year, and you have to think that little by little their offense is going to get together, just because Kirk Cousins is a decent quarterback. Yeah, I said decent. I'll give him that. But I think the Chiefs are. They might actually look better than they did last year to start the season. They definitely do, just for the simple fact of last week's game, I think, is less about what they didn't show and more about when these two teams together. It's just, when you go in the NFL, there's just something about whenever these teams get together, no matter what you think may happen, it's always going to be contested. Cincinnati, honestly, I think, has Kansas City's number, but I think zebras are very interesting creatures, and I think if you look back at that, so I think the Chiefs are good, but I think that game is kind of a very specific game outside of the norm. I think they're still going to be, dominant enough to win this game, and if their pass rush gets to the Falcons, that's typically when you get them to crumble, because in the game 1 against Pittsburgh, they won strictly off their defense. T.J. Watt in that line. So if Chris Jones can get off, I look for the Chiefs to win this game. I will say, though, I am looking for don't know who their running back's going to be, because Pacheco's going to be out, and I don't know I know Kareem Hunt has to go past the physical. But if this might be one of those games where Patrick Mahomes might have that last year game where he had like 30 for like 45 or 245 yards.
It'll be Carson Steele either or P. Ryan. Those would be the 2 running backs for this team.
Okay. Well, if it's P. Ryan, then I'll tell you this much. You better take those receiving yards. You better take those receptions, because if they can't run the ball effectively, they will use the screen game to make sure they can get down the field. That's where he comes into play. 1,000%. I got the Chiefs.
I feel you on that, man. All right. Does that cover everything for this game? We got 2 games left after this.
Yep.
Monday Night Football doubleheader. First up is the Jaguars and the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bills still looking pretty good to start the season. Jaguars, not so much. Jaguars need to get in the win column. It's a tough place to play on the road. I don't think they got enough to get it done. Jags 0-3, and the Bills 3-0 after this. Denzel, what say you?
Bills. Jags don't look the same to start the year, and I don't see anything changing going up against a tough opponent such as the Bills. They are very lucky that they are playing at Orchard Park in September as opposed to December, or I would have a blowout. But I'm going to take the Bills. I'll take the Bills 28-17. Might be close at the half, but I think the Bills pull away in the second half.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Bills too. I think I've been quite impressed with Cook to start the season for the Bills. I think he's really starting to turn it up for the Bills. I actually think this game would be closer though. I think this is a 2-3 point game. I think Jaguars hang around in this game. So I think it'll take all 4 quarters, but I got Buffalo winning this game.
Fantastic. JJ, Bills or Jags?
I'm gonna go with the Jags. I actually think they're gonna I don't think that they are as bad as people have probably seen them when they watch their games. Because if you know this team, especially with Trevor Lawrence as quarterback, they do have some struggles early on. They do have these up and down games and stuff, but I actually think they're a pretty good team. I do give 100% to Tyler's credit point about James Cook because he has been the driving force of this Buffalo Bills team. And it's interesting because they are becoming a predominantly run-oriented team, or using the running backs as the most, to get the bulk of their yardage. But I think Jacksonville has enough because their safety combo still hasn't really, they've been tested, but not tested. And I think that I'm going to give the Jaguars a chance to have them tested. I think this is going to be a good game for them. So I'm not going to take money line, but I take it to cover. I ain't touching that money line.
All right, man. Last game. Commanders taking on the Bengals. Commanders finally got a win last week, but it was against the Giants. Bengals at home. They're 0-2. That's why that Patriots game really hurts them. The Bengals were 2-1, or looking to go 2-1. They would be in a really good spot, but I think the Bengals do more than enough to win this game, and hopefully they can start to stack and get things going. We all know they really need it. Falling at 0-3 is the last thing this team needs for some of the games they got coming up on the schedule. So I'm going to take the Bengals to handle business at home. Denzel, what about you?
I actually got the Bengals, but I got it a little bit closer. I'm going to take the Bengals 26-23. I think Jaden Daniels actually slugs it out with Burrow, surprisingly. But because this is the type of game that folks would overlook. As you can see, the Bengals are a 7.5-point favorite. I think a pretty generous line. But no, I think they keep it close. The Bengals don't cover, and they win by a field goal, 26-23.
Tyler?
Oh, man, this is such a weird game to me because the Bengals need this so bad, but there is a little bit of dysfunction going. You see Burrow throwing his helmet. You see Jamar Chase. There is some dysfunction going on. Jaden Daniels has shown some nice flashes to start this season, I will say. He has shown a little bit. He just worries me so much with the way he plays. A little reckless. I don't want to ever wish this, but he plays a little like Tua sometimes, and it worries me a little bit. Watching this. I got the Bengals winning this game. I think Washington's going to hang around, though. I think we're going to get 2 Monday night games that come down to the wire. I think Washington will hang around in this game.
All right, so we got a pretty interesting game so far. JJ, Bengals team in your division, and Commanders right down the road from you. What do you think, man? What do you think about this matchup and who's going to win and why?
I don't like that spread. I'll tell you that. I don't like that spread. I agree with Tyler 1,000%. I think there is some early season adversity that they probably wasn't anticipating because Jamar is clearly affected by this contract situation.
Yeah,
right.
Clearly
Definitely is.
affected by this contract situation. I will respect Bill for this, for him to try to get him to calm down and then not listening. It's supposed to happen in games that may happen, but it's context. You didn't get your contract. You held out, then you came to the very end, and now you're having a struggle to get going. The context makes it seem like it's something more. I still think they have enough to win this game because I think the Commanders, even though Jaden Daniels is Italian, he's doing pretty decent. I'm sorry, the Giants, I can see you getting some yardage on them, but the Bucs are a more formidable defense that is similar to what the Bengals are going to present to you. I don't think he's comfortable with the whole getting it down the field yet. And I don't think he's going to have that chance to do it this time. But I think that they'll cover, because I just think that I will give their defense, Dan Quinn's always going to try to have his defense going a little bit. But I just got the Bengals win this game, even though I know that I think the Bengals have some things going on. There's going to be some, and I'm sad because you don't even hear these things anymore. Remember back when they used to hear players-only meetings when a team was struggling? Players-only meetings? I hope to hear that when I listen to Sunday NFL Countdown about the Bengals, because this seems like a players-only meeting needs to be had about this. To be like, all right, look, Jamar, I understand that you're frustrated. You committed to come back. I understand what that means. We are still. Don't you know that there's more fortuitous opportunities for you if we can still be successful? We're not saying we don't want to pay you. It's just at the same time, the more you start to do these things, the more you start to become detrimental to a team. That's how you get traded. That's how you get moved. You got to. It's like It's almost like when I look at Jamar, it's like you played your hand. You played your hand. It didn't win. So when you realize that, you just try to bucken up back again. Look at Saquon Barkley. That's exactly what he did with the New York Giants. He played his hand. He couldn't win what he wanted, so he took what he got, and then he left. And when he left, he got a nice deal where he's going. Sometimes you got to play your hand. When you signed up to play after holding out, you're basically acknowledging that you lost this battle for this season. So now get it together, and let's get there and try to get these games, because we're trying to win a Super Bowl, and I know you want to win one too.
And just one thing, and I know we're getting off here real quick. A few weeks ago, James asked on the Gauntlet, who's the most overrated team going into this season? And my answer was the Cincinnati Bengals.
Bengals, yeah.
And I just think the honeymoon's over. That's as point as I can say.
It feels like it.
It feels like it. Like, I know they went on that run. I just don't believe in the Cincinnati Bengals. And like I said, I think Washington hangs around on Monday night. They might not win. I think they hang around. That's all I got.
So we're about to end the show, but we'll have more extensive conversations about stuff on the Gauntlet on Friday. But since we're just on the topic, real quick before we end the show. Based on how the Jamar situation is playing out, and you saw it after a penalty, there was a missed face mask call. I've never seen Jamar like this, not in his college days, not since he's been in the NFL, just completely losing his cool. So, would it be crazy for the Bengals to say they don't want to deal with Jamar anymore and trade him, and then re-sign T. Higgins to a deal? Or do you guys think that's too risky? Because about the player Jamar Chase is, just letting a player like that walk out of the building.
I think they want to see what happens with how they respond to this adversity. I think they want to see the resolve. And if they don't see the resolve that they're looking for, then I think the options are going to be talking about, okay.
Probably not until after the season, though, at least.
Yeah.
You have to understand, it's I think it's a lot of eyes on Jamar specifically, because the context, again, we didn't even mention that Justin Jefferson just got paid. They obviously know each other. They're best friends. They've been together since LSU. They've been friends since LSU. He watched it. He said his comments and stuff, and now it's like you stepped out there and you got humbled a little bit. Now you got to show your resolve, because if you're the player that you probably told them that you are to this point, to say, I'm that guy, I'm going to do what's necessary. And when it comes time for you to face that adversity and show your resolve, do what's necessary, I think that's what they want to see about him. They want to see, okay, how are you going to get out of this funk?
I just think the Bengals don't think Jamar is worth the same amount of money as someone like Jefferson. So they're probably offering him a decent contract, but they're just not offering like a record-breaking deal.
I'll be honest, though. I think the Bengals got to figure it out one way or another, because they don't, some teams have the luxury of having a good enough defense to kind of hang around their games. Like, Pittsburgh's not worried so much about their offense because their defense gets off the field. The Bengals don't have that luxury. The Bengals need to get down the field and score points. Otherwise, they're in for a lot of losing games and missing the playoffs. They got to figure it out. They got to figure it out, and they got to figure it out fast. And Jamar needs to step up, and Joe Burrow needs to kind of go back to being Joe Cool and chilling out. I'm starting to see Joe Burrow, throw his helmet and get mad. And that, to be honest, a pissed off Joe Burrow doesn't look like the killer Joe Burrow. The Joe Burrow that is cool, calm, and collective is the Joe Burrow you don't want to see. A mad Joe Burrow, things get erratic. So they got to figure it out with Jamar Chase.
Denzel, you got anything before we wrap up?
Real quick, I think they'll get it figured out because this is a sense of urgency at this point. Because you're playing in the toughest division in football. So there's no room to fall behind like too far, But yeah, they got to get this thing figured out. They got to get it figured out fast because as of right now, and should the Ravens lose on Sunday, they're down 0-3 in the division, 0-3 overall. So you would think that would be the time to take advantage, seeing as the class of the division the last 2 years has been the Baltimore Ravens. So this would be the time to take advantage. This is the wrong time to be at odds amongst your peers and with the team. Because the Steelers, they're having a quarterback issue, yet they lead the division. The Browns are a question mark. Like, you would think it's now. It's now. Probably now or never. Because you don't want that team in Baltimore to get their stuff together and start running away.
Well, and I mean, here's the thing: people are laughing at the Steelers going into the season. But the one thing the Steelers got going for them is they have an identity. Yep. They win sloppy football games. They play tough-nosed defense. They have an identity. Cincinnati right now does not have an identity. They have to figure it out.
That's why I picked the Steelers this week too.
Yeah, to be honest, people can make fun of that offense all they want. They know how to win sloppy, ugly football games. And at the end of the day, as long as it's a W on the schedule, you move on to the next.
To Tyler's point, that is the one thing that as Ravens we respect them about is because who cares? Get the W. They don't care how it gets done. They knew what they were signing up for when they brought Justin Fields. You think they didn't know? Like, you didn't think they knew? So that's why that defense is killing it right now because they know he's going to need that. And at the end of the day, Justin's not making too many mistakes. He's not making too many mistakes. And that's all they're asking for him. It's very Charlie Batch-like, except for without the arm ability. It's very Charlie Batch-like or Tommy Maddox, which there's a culture here. There's a culture here knowing that we can still win games. Duck Hodges, come on now. You win with Duck Hodges, you can get a guy that has talent in Justin Fields. There's somebody, I don't think they're going to be the division winners at the end of the season, but I think they're going to be a team that people are going to start looking like, oh, wow, they're 4-2. Oh, wow.
I mean, they've won with Mason Rudolph. They could win with whoever at the helm.
And they don't give a crap.
They know their identity. And that's what I respect about the Pittsburgh Steelers franchise. They have an identity and know how to win ugly football games. And at the end of the day, it's a W and you move on.
It makes it so much easier for incoming people to come in because everybody knows the rules. Everybody can tell this person, this is what's supposed to be done. That's why the wide receivers just fall right in line. That's why their defenders just fall right in line. It's because everybody knows. It's not like you're going to get two different directions or see in different seasons two different directions. It's the same ship every single year, and that plays a part. The Chiefs are indicative of that. The difference between the Chiefs and the Steelers is really maybe their quarterback because the talent is there on both sides, but the quarterback is the biggest difference. Right. But their identity is the same. They know who they are.
Awesome stuff tonight, guys. Really had fun on the show talking with you guys about everything, all the games. So these are our picks for the week, guys. Hope you guys all enjoyed the show. And we'll see you guys back on Friday night for even more stuff. All right? See you guys next time.
Peace, guys.
This has been Picked Off. Sideline Sports Network. Tune in.
Picked Off.